fettuccine and bill, but still, everything's real in the field. And what you can't have now, leave when you will. But don't knock me for trying to bury 7 zeros over in Rio de Janeiro. Ain't nobody's hero, but I wanna be heard on your hot 9-7 every day. That's my word. Swimming in women with their own condominiums, 5 plus 5s who drop millenniums. It's all about the Benjamins. What? I get a 50-pound bag of oof for the mutts. 5 carrots on my hands with the cuts, and something European chromed out with the clutch. Drinking more liquor, driving a broke nigga. Up with more sippers, watched by gold diggers. Rocking Bashore denims with gold dippers. Lost your touch, we kept ours. Popping crystals, freaking in 3/4 reptiles. Enormous cream, forest green. Binge G for my team, so while you sleep, I'm a scheme. You see through, so why nobody never gonna believe you. You should do what we do, stack chips like Hebrews. Don't let the melody intrigue you, cause I leave you. I'm only here for that green paper with
I'm straight trying to cop those colossal size Picassos. And have poppin' shit coke outside those gastos. The end with cash flowing like Sosa. And the Latin chick transporting in a chocha. Stampeding over pop modes, never sober. Flexing Range Rover, stealing weight by Minnesota. Avoiding arcs with camcorders and Chevy Novas. Stash in the building with this chick named Ramona from Daytona. When I was young, I want the Rona. But now I only hit chicks and wear beauty pageants. Tricking and taking me skin at the Aspens. Gangsta mental, stay poppin' twist out. Pack a black pistol and the act coupe the dark brown. Pinky ringing, gondolas with the man singing. Italian music down the river with your chick clinging. To my bizzles, play you mad false. Acting hard when you was pussy as you pause.
Hey, we had to do it different today. What's up, y'all?
What's the good? Wanna roll with the beat, huh? Throw a hat on the whole family. Dressed in all black like the omen. Have your friends singing.
This is for my homies. Do you know me?
I'm making niggas so sick. Lost in my six with the necks on the wrist. If it's murder,
You know she wrote it.
German Reaper for your ass, bitch. Deep.
All right. That's enough of that foolishness. Hello, welcome to A Seat at the Table DNN mashup, because we have a news story and a legal story kind of blending together. So I'm in my studio at my home. Since it's a music topic, I'm just kind of blending all kinds of stuff together. Um, and here we are. So y'all have been discussing among yourselves and asking me to discuss this Diddy, the lawsuit, the Cassie lawsuit, the this newest lawsuit, which has been amended, and then this week, of course, we saw search warrants, federal search warrants, bi-coastal search warrants. It's just a mess, and there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo mixed up in it. So I thought about it when it first hit Monday, and I was like, no, I don't know enough to know what to even talk about. We were all trying to figure out what was going on, but now a couple of days have gone by, and I feel like we can have an intellectual conversation about it and not just be gossiping, because that's not what we do at the table or at DNN. And since this is a seat at the table DNN mashup, I want to keep it true to how I roll. So that's what we have. So what I want to do, live from my very dusty, y'all see the dust on my studio. I'm almost never in here, actually never in here. So it's nice to be down here, and hopefully the echo is not too bad for you. But it's nice to be down here. Maybe I'll come down here more often. But it's good to be here with the table and the DNN crowd, and we got some bad boy videos going in the back. But what I'm gonna do is bring the screen up with the guy's lawsuit, and let's kind of comb through it, and let's just discuss. You guys are already going good in the comments, so keep that up. Yes, Angela, that's a gold record on the wall in the studio. There's a platinum one too. Just saying. But let's just jump into it. I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see the lawsuit, if I do it right, that is. Um, because a lot of you from the comments seem like you hadn't actually seen this lawsuit. So I thought it might be good to kind of go through this one because this is probably one of the more detailed, overly detailed. I mean, this man has photographs, he has names. He's just gone kind of overboard with the details in this lawsuit. Normally, you don't do all that. I'm gonna turn this screen off. Oh, if I use the right remote, I turn it off. Just because it's a little distracting. Normally, you don't see that level of detail in a lawsuit. Normally, you make your case, in court, and you don't try to make it into the pleadings. But this lawyer, I'll admit, I giggled at him at first. I was like, this is really weird the way he did this lawsuit, but he's getting results. So, they may get the last laugh. So I'm going to comb through, no pun intended, comb through this lawsuit with you guys, and so we're all on an equal playing field of knowing what's going on. It's 73 pages, so I'll be doing my speed reading that I do sometimes, and then we'll have a conversation about what we know about the warrants that were issued, and then we'll talk about some witnesses that have agreed to testify against um, Daddy, Diddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, Love, whatever you want to call him, and then we'll just talk about it. I see you guys in the comments, so I'll be paying those very close attention as we go through. All right, so first thing I want to point out is um, everything here is alleged. This is an allegation. This is a lawsuit that someone has filed, and I often tell you guys, anybody can sue anybody for anything, right? So just because it's been written on a piece of paper doesn't make it true. And all of these are allegations. This is not me defending him. This is me not having this taken down. Or as my son just said to me, good luck, Mom, don't get canceled. As if I care. So it's the right thing to do when we don't have when we haven't had a trial and a person has not been convicted of something. It's the right thing to do to say it's allegations. So these are all alleged acts, alleged by one Rodney Jones, who's a producer on the above Off the Grid album, which I thoroughly enjoy, quite honestly. And so, keeping all that in mind, here we go. All right, so Rodney Jones has sued a plethora of people, even some unidentified people. We'll see Sean Combs, Justin Combs, that's his oldest son, and his middle name is Dior, very New York of them. Ethiopia had to marry him. Keep her in mind because we're going to discuss her at the end. Lucian Grange, whoever that is, Christina Coram, whoever that is, he sued the recording studio, the record label, the parent company, the distributor, Combs Global Enterprises, and John Jane Doe 1 through 50. Just anybody that is anywhere, he sued them. So he's trying to get liability and insurance by doing that. Okay, so then he calls out who everybody is. So we're going to skip on over. They call out the jurisdiction. Obviously, he says who Puffy is, rapper, record executive, popularly known by stage names Puff Daddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, Brother Love, or Love. Okay, he gives a background on who Diddy is. And I hope this is big enough for you guys to see on your screen. Let me know if it's not, I'll just take it off. Then he puts this just rude picture of Puff on the complaint. He's got like alopecia going on or something. I don't know if it was during COVID. He couldn't get his Biogen. I don't know what's wrong, but he's got this just ridiculous picture of the man. And again, earlier I mentioned people don't generally put pictures in lawsuits unless it's like a suit over something that's a picture like art or something. So this is like really weird. It's like it's almost like a lineup. Like here's the people, here's a lineup. All right, then we have Justin Dior Combs, who's his oldest son. He was born in '93. If you're in Atlanta, you might remember the restaurant named Justin's was named after him back in the day. Now it's a Bank of America or something. Then he tells us who Charles Grange. And then if you're going to put the pictures, Mr. Lawyer, put them on the page with the words so we don't have to go back and forth. So Lucian Grange is the CEO of Universal Music Group. That's him. Ethiopia is She works at Motown. She's been around the industry forever. Lots of us know her that have been involved in the music industry since the 90s. She's been a force for a while. This Christina person is apparently Diddy's chief of staff. Motown, okay, he just, Chalice Recording Studios is a studio, then that's their logo. Motown, we all know who that is. Universal Music Group owns distribution rights to all of the labels that we've discussed thus far. Love Records is Diddy's imprint on Motown, and Combs Enterprises is, I guess, Combs Global Enterprises is his thing. All right, then he starts telling us who he is. And this, again, is weird. Defendant Lil Rod Jones is from the Windy City, Chi-Town. Who does that in a lawsuit? Like, so I was laughing at this thing when I first read it because I was like, this is just nothing. But I'm not laughing anymore. He starts to tell us stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the lawsuit about himself. And then he starts getting into the events. All right, so he said he got a call in August 2022 to produce several songs on the Rhythm and Blues album titled The Love Album Off the Grid. He agreed, and his life has been detrimentally impacted ever since. All right, so let's get into it. He says he had to live with Mr. Combs for months at a time, missing holidays, birthdays, family events. He witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer. The claims Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings from Mr. Combs, his staff, his guests, engaging in illegal activity. Among which the acquisition, use, distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, I don't even know what that is, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the display of illegal firearms, laced beverages to minors, sex workers. Put a pin in that. We're going to come back to the sex workers too. Somebody remind me to come back to 50 Cent and the sex worker. His chief of staff instructing people to retrieve drugs. His son Christian drugging and sex. I'm going to say SA for these two words so we don't get flagged. SAing a woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, which, when this was filed, had been settled for $30 million. Okay, GHB is the date rape drug. Thank you. I missed that. Young Miami's cousin and or assistant SAing him. Cuba Gooding Jr. SAing him. Like, everybody's under the bus. The bus is like the size of Diddy's jet at this point. And then we have these really, really, really bad, loose, secret like things where he's describing people, and he might as well just say their name. Rapper Redacted, who's a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, Meek Mill, consorting with underage girls, ex-workers, and R&B singer Redacted in Mr. Combs' LA home, consorting with underage girls and ex-workers. And that mystery person is a Grammy, let's see, which one is this supposed to be? A Grammy Award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting a Bajan billionaire, Chris Brown. All right, so then he continues on to talk about a shooting at the studio. Somebody named G is an African-American male who was in a heated conversation with Diddy and his sons. The conversation went to the bathroom, and which makes no sense. And Mr. Jones was 2 feet away from Mr. Jones is the plaintiff, was 2 feet away from this bathroom when gunshots rang out. He recalls hearing the gunshots. He runs into the bathroom. Well, he gets in a state of shock. He believed he would be shot through the door. Then a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door opened, Diddy and his son Justin exited, and G was in the bathroom laying on the floor in a fetal position, bleeding out. Nobody helped. Everybody standing around looking at him. Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to him, and tried to apply pressure to stop the bleeding. And so he's this hero in the scenario after he was no longer afraid that he was going to be shot. And Mr. Jones lifted him, brought him to the ambulance at the front. Mr. Combs and Justin had disappeared, and Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also told Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by. All right, so that's what came out. Man shot outside party studio at Hollywood recording studio. And, you know, hey mama, y'all know what to do when my mama steps in. All right, so Mr. Jones has had several run-ins. This thing is on top of it. Mr. Jones has the clothing. Mr. Jones has more pictures of the crime scene, you know, of the shooting of G, which was um, fed to the media that it took place outside the studio. All right, he's talking about how bad the studio security was, how people had weapons. Now he goes on to carry on to say that he was sexually harassed. Again, these were all allegations, SA'd and assaulted by Mr. Combs. So he says he was the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. Let's let that settle. Constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of your anus. Not your butt, right? Am I the only one having a hard time visualizing how somebody can constantly? I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. It's just weird. This lawsuit is presented very weird. The choice of words just sends me. All right. In addition to this unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced to work in the bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. He said he was uncomfortable with that. He expressed that to the chief of staff. She's kind of like, yeah, you know, Sean will be Sean. Um, she attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones' anus and genitals as friendly horseplay. That's his way of showing that he likes you. Tell you what, ain't nobody gotta like me if that's how they want to show me, okay? Um, he said he would undress around and walk around his house naked. You guys can read, I'm not reading to you. So he's saying her hypocrisy is breathtaking at best or enabling at worst. Again, this is weird language for a lawsuit. So here we have this man is as Keisha just pointed out, you stayed from September 22 to November 2023, and this man is groping your anus. Again, I do not understand how you grope an anus, but maybe I'm gonna leave that alone. All right, Mr. Combs attempted to groom Mr. Jones into engaging in gay sex. I'm supposed to be trying to say X instead of that so we don't get flagged, okay? Y'all help me. So now we start talking about Stevie J. So Stevie J is one of the producers from Bad Boy from back in the day, the Hitmen. He was on, what's that ratchet show, y'all, that he was on? Love and Hip Hop. And he's just all around just a clown and quite interesting on social media. Today, 50 Cent, who just has interjected himself into this whole thing, like he's like, pick me, I want to be in the mess. Made some jokes about him, about Stevie J, and Stevie J pretty much threatened 50 Cent. So we'll probably see some arrests there from threats and terroristic threats and death threats being made on Instagram by these two geniuses. But at any rate, this person goes on to say who Stevie J is and to explain that to the court in way more detail than the court cares about. And then we have a nice graphic video, still shot from a video of what's purporting to be Stevie J with a guy. And he said that Puff Daddy, Diddy, showed him that to get him to see it's normal. Everybody in the industry does it, even Stevie J. Stevie J denies that this is him, and even the person that it actually is came forward and said, no, that's me, and I'm a porn star, and that's a piece from my film. So I don't know who it is, you know. I don't know what it's supposed to prove. I don't know why we care if Stevie J is doing something. What does that have to do with your lawsuit, sir? But okay. Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in SI with rapper. Again, we have these really bad redactions. A Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Who knows who that is, boys and girls? And R&B singer redacted. This one's really difficult. He performed in the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. And Says the writer is in possession of this video and will provide a copy to the court. I don't know if the court wants to see that video, but knock yourself out. Yes, Wendy, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, a mess in the entertainment industry. Um, I'm in my studio. Nobody's ever in here, much less a whole bunch of mess. But thankfully, I never experienced anything like this with the people that I was working with in the 90s. Not saying it was like flowers and lilies, but it wasn't like this. All right, so then Mr. Jones goes on to say that he has been SA'd by Young Miami's cousin. Now, the thing that's weird about this from a lawsuit and legal standpoint is Young Miami has a name, and we all know it is Carisha. But this man is referring to her as Young Miami in a lawsuit, and not even, and then he's saying that he was victimized by Young Miami's cousin. So we don't know who Young Miami is. You don't have her legal name, and then you're just calling her a person that you say SA'd you, her cousin. Again, no name. A really weird way to make your case, but he's saying that she, against his will, dropped down to her knees and got her eagle on in front of him. You can fill that in yourself. Against his will. And attempted to straddle him in the bathroom. Mr. Combs encouraged all this. And these are pictures of them hanging out in Thanksgiving. And Mr. Combs invites Mr. Jones into the restroom to attempt to force him to take cocaine. This is a picture of Young Miami, also known as Carisha something or other, and her cousin, who shall remain nameless. And this is his proof that this lady, for some reason, got naked and tried to rape him, and that he wanted him to step into the bathroom as if they need to hide when they're doing cocaine in front of Young Miami. Since he also alleges that Young Miami was a drug mule and bringing drugs to Diddy. So, yeah, she only goes by Carisha now, so I don't know why we need to call her by anything but Carisha. We definitely don't need to call her Young Miami. And y'all stop laughing at my eagle on, drop down and get your eagle on reference. I'm probably showing my age by saying that, but I'm just trying to think of some way to describe what the lady did without being graphic. So, or Young Miami's cousin, sorry, she doesn't have a name, I forgot. Okay, so we're on page 15. Let's keep going. What is this a picture of? This is a picture of the ex-workers that Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring back to his home. He decided to redact their faces. Now, the interesting thing here is that he's saying on February 2nd, 2023, he believes Mr. Combs drugged him. He recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused. He was in bed with 2 ex-workers and Mr. Combs. He also recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. He recalls that. That's really interesting. Now, the thing that a couple of lawyers, my cousin LaShawn, who I think is in here, and some other lawyers who I know, found interesting about that is that he is implicating himself in this statement, and nobody asked him to, by acknowledging that he has basically hired ex-workers and provided them to a customer, which makes him a pimp, which is a crime. So, that'll be interesting when the court takes that up. This is gonna make the Fonnie Willis thing look like nothing, like a walk in the park. It really is. All right, so another occasion, he went in the bathroom, they had a $100 bill, he wanted to do cocaine. He asked him for a $100 bill, and luckily he did not have one, so they didn't do cocaine. Now, I don't know anything about cocaine. I don't know if can you not do cocaine on a dollar bill? Does it have to be a $100 bill? Can you do it on a 5? Like, why is the cocaine not happening if you don't have a $100 bill? Somebody, maybe anonymously inbox me. You don't want to admit why, I don't know. But apparently that was his out. They didn't have a $100 bill, so the cocaine did not get snorted at that moment. But Mr. Combs got his booger sugar later with Young Miami, who still doesn't have a legal name. And meanwhile, while they're doing that, after they got their hands on a $100 bill, Puffy required Mr. Jones to go solicit ex-workers from the booby trap in Miami. I kid you not. All right, so now we're at booby trap, and he's got, Exhibit A and Exhibit B of the boobies at the booby trap. Again, this does not happen in a lawsuit, people. That's why I'm laughing, because this is so ridiculous, but the fact that things are lining up. It feels ridiculous yet true. And so um, I believe it's true. I just think his lawyer is weird in the way he presents his evidence in the pleadings with these pictures of these hoes in your lawsuit. That's crazy. So he set the booby trap on the river. He has on the booby trap. He has on the bad boy baseball cap that Sean, I don't know what to call the man, that Sean required him to wear to the booby trap because that let the O's at the booby trap know he's with Puffy. That's like the code, I guess. So he gets there. Workers are accustomed to servicing. Mr. Combs would know he was in town by the sight of the bad boy baseball cap. And now we get to why we have these broads here. All right. Here's the phone number of the ex-worker that called him. He had her in his phone under Booby Trap Miami. I don't know if this stands for "Hey girl." I don't know. But he had her in his phone under Booby Trap Miami. All right. He had no desire to solicit or have sex with these people. Mr. Combs was using tactics to maintain dominion and control over him. He promised to get him a Grammy for Producer of the Year. He offered him $250,000 to purchase instruments. He promised him ownership of $20 million property, One Star Island in Miami. Incidentally, that's the place that the feds just raided, so you're probably not getting that, sir. It's been a little damaged anyway. He promised access to record label executives like Lucian Grange, who we've discovered is the president of the record label in Ethiopia, who we will later discover has turned and will testify against him. You can't breathe. I'm trying to hold it together myself. All right, so he promised Mr. Jones the world in one breath, and then he's threatening him with physical harm in the other breath. Okay, let's read this sentence together. Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face. I don't know. I got nothing. And inform Mr. Jones that he is willing to off his own mother, Janice Combs, if he must, in order to get what he wants. So he wouldn't think twice to harm Mr. Jones. All right, Mr. Jones. So now you're down at the booby trap with the bad boy hat on, hollering at "A girl" from Booby Trap Miami in your phone, and I guess driving these ex-workers. I don't know. You're doing a lot when you could have just went home. Like when he said go to the booby trap and get the O's, you could have said, okay, I'll be right back. Give me the money for the O's, get the money and go home and never come back. This is why I'm lost, because you're grown. I don't know. Again, not justifying Diddy, just trying to understand how this man got here um, in this situation. All right, so now because he didn't take his butt home and just mind his business, he has gone to this listening party at Mr. Combs' home in July of 23. It's scared to get his face ate, but okay with anus groping. Y'all are killing me. That's what I was thinking as an adult. Why would you stay if you don't like what's going on? Right, like, bruh, get in your car and go home. Like, don't go to the booby trap. I don't know. You got one time. Never mind. All right. Present at this party was R&B artist redacted. Let's see. This is the same horrible description of Chris Brown and Jay Combs, ex-workers, and some underage girls. The event began at 7. He requested the ex-workers and required Mr. Jones to solicit them. An hour later, so homie, wait, you at the party and the ex-workers aren't there, and you just happen to be the only person that this international superstar billionaire can get ex-workers. You don't have any previous, experience with, I don't know, being a pimp. He just, for some reason, thinks that you're the only person when you walk in, it's like, time for the hose. You got it. If you say so, sir. In addition to the sex workers, there were at least 5 women in the crowd that were under the age of 16. Combs forced all the women to drink Lace de Leon, laced with ecstasy. He did not check the identification of any of these underage girls. Let me tell you, they never do. And if they do, the girls have fake IDs. The presence of the underage women made Mr. Jones very uncomfortable as he carts in a gaggle of ex-workers. He attempted to leave, and Mr. Combs forced him to stay. Mr. Combs went so far as to take Mr. Jones' car keys to prevent him from leaving. After being forced to drink Lace de Leon shots, Mr. Jones began feeling lightheaded. That's kind of what happens when you drink Lace de Leon, or de Leon straight, really. I hated that stuff. And recalls passing out. Anybody ever passed out? Do you recall passing out? Or you just pass out? And wake up at 4 a.m. the following morning naked with an ex-worker sleeping next to him. I feel like Mr. Jones is married and his wife went through his phone and he just needed to type all this stuff to be able to. Is it just me? Are y'all with me? GP, are you with me on this? Um, yeah, you recall waking up, but you don't recall passing out. And no, he doesn't. The underage worker. Okay, so Angela, there's two groups of O's. There's the underage girls, and then there's the ex workers. So the ex workers are grown, but they only seem to be able to leave the booby trap on demand when Mr. Jones shows up in a particular hat. And I guess the proprietor of the booby trap doesn't care if his dancers just get off stage and leave and go turn into ex-workers all of a sudden, or if these women are ex-workers at the booby trap. I don't know. I never heard no booby trap in Miami. Um, okay, so Pretty Brown says she doesn't recall him being married when you met him a few years ago. Well, if he was, he probably ain't. But he's this whole thing sounds like, baby, let me explain. Okay, he forced me to get this sex workers. He forced me. He wouldn't let me have my keys. I recall waking up next to these hookers. I don't know. I don't know. This is what this is giving. This is giving, baby, let me explain. Okay. All right. I'm scared to click the next thing because it says that screenshots of a video from that night are going to be next. So, okay. Not as bad as I was worried it might be. Um, Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs was grooming him, a grown-ass man, to pass him off to his friends. That fear became reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to, and now we have the backing up over the bus of Cuba Gooding Jr. on Mr. Combs' yacht. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a picture of Mr. Combs and Cuba Gooding Jr. moments before Mr. Jones is assaulted. Mr. Jones was um, sitting beside Mr. Gooding Jr., who began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones' legs, upper inner thighs near his groin, the small of his back near his buttocks, and his shoulders. Somebody must not have told him you could grope it. Never mind. He was extremely uncomfortable and proceeded to lean away from Mr. Gooding Jr. Extremely uncomfortable. And just leaning away is not what most people would do if they were touched like that by someone they did not want. But here is somehow a photograph of Cuba Gooding Jr. forcibly touching Mr. Jones on Mr. Combs' yacht. Okay, now we're out of the please baby please phase. Please baby, let me explain what happened. Let me listen, girl. None of this was, Sherelle said maybe his legs didn't work to get up and walk away. Perhaps. He'd been groped in the anus so many times. Maybe. I really feel bad for laughing because this man probably has been assaulted in some way, but this is ridiculous the way he's describing what has gone on. But at the same time, I believe that it all went on as well. But I just think he's like juicing it up and making the story sound better. And also trying to absolve himself of any wrongdoing, even though he was the procurer of the ex-workers at every moment possible. Okay. Keisha said, Cuba said, hi, I'm the main ingredient. We're going to leave his daddy out of that. Okay, we're going to leave him out of this. Let Cuba Jr. stand on the junior. Nicole has a good point. It's semi-believable when you remember him making his artist walk to Brooklyn for cheesecake. This man prostitutes himself out, and Diddy ain't make good on the promise, or he caught something. He's trying to sound like the victim when he was the one that brought the sex workers. Yes, I'm not taking either person's side. I think that Diddy did all this stuff. I do. And I think that this man did all this stuff, but he's trying to word it to sound like it's not a crime on his part, like he had no choice. And that's stupid. just leave that stuff out and let them bring it up on cross-examination. So that's why I'm like, the lawyer is trying to like finesse it, but he's really just making it sound ridiculous, and these pictures are very stupid. All right, because that just doesn't, we don't do this. Like, you put your exhibits and evidence in the trial. You don't even necessarily want them to know all of your evidence from reading this and have their defense in their answer. You want to get some stuff in discovery and go back and forth. So you file a lawsuit, the person gets to answer, or in this case, all these people get to answer. And then it goes into a period where you can do depositions and you can do interrogatories and discovery and get documents. And that's when you give them this kind of stuff. And at which point you already have their answer on file without them knowing that you had pictures. It's like you're playing spades with the cards turned around backwards when you do something like this. Tasha K, Lord knows. Tasha K points out that this is an inexperienced lawyer. Tasha K knows that. Lenore said, "Who takes pictures in the middle of being assaulted and or drugged?" Right. Well, this generation, they take a selfie in the middle of anything. But he's not in that generation. Almost fresh out of school, and this seems like, yeah, I should have looked the lawyer up. I mean, who, sir? Who have you represented, and what is your claim to fame? Are you actually a lawyer? It's close enough for me to think he's a lawyer. It's not giving Google lawyer. It's just not giving litigator. It's definitely giving book report. All right, so now we're going to talk about the album. We're going to skip most of this stuff because it's already 9:37. But basically, he was promised the sun, the moon, and the stars if he did this album. He did a really good job on the album. The songs are banging. But at the end of the day, Mr. Combs only offered him $29,000 for 13 months, thousands of hours of work, 9 songs that made it onto the album, and he was willing to take $50,000, his publishing and royalties. Mr. Combs' self-serving greed would not allow him to pay Mr. Jones the additional $21,000 after all these hookers I done brought over here. This what you want to do? Okay, I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't even know if that belongs in here. I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, these are the onslaught of threatening messages from Stevie J and somebody else when he didn't um, take the money. And so he made a public post, and then this is threats. Again, playing spades with the cards turned around. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs is very forceful and demanding. Mr. Combs does not take no for an answer and would often threaten to inflict bodily harm on Mr. Jones if he did not comply with his demands. As detailed above, Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face. I have to do my news broadcaster voice with that because what? All right. Now we're talking about Pum Pums. I don't want to talk about those because that'll get my Facebook taken down. But he's just flashback to a time that J-Lo allegedly carried a gun into the club for him so that he could shoot this lady in the face, and he just felt like he couldn't tell him no. Yeah, Kat tried to tell us. Kat told us. Kat told us, don't go to Diddy's parties. So now we're dealing with Fareem Muhammad. This is Diddy's chief of security, and we're just throwing him under the bus at Ramadan. Fine. All right, now we get down to Ethiopia. Now let's spend some time on her. Diddy out here being big red. Y'all are crazy as I am. All right, so Mr. Grange came to his home. I'm speed reading. Should have known Mr. Combs was drugging people with bottles of Ciroc, in case you don't know how to say Ciroc or spell it, and De Leon. It's no secret that Mr. Combs had bottles of alcohol. Now I'm gonna take a break here and talk about this because there's one theory is that when Diddy fell out with De Leon, I'm sorry, with Diageo, the owner of Ciroc and De Leon. Diageo is a parent company. I've done business with them. I found them to be really wonderful to work with. But apparently Diddy did not. At some point, after selling millions of bottles of Ciroc to people, they have parted ways. And Diddy has filed a lawsuit against Diageo for racial discrimination. There's one school of thought that at that point, the powers that be at Diageo set out to destroy his reputation. And listen, they are doing a damn good job if that's true. So there's some allegation, kind of like the Bill Cosby thing. They destroyed Bill Cosby because he was trying to buy a television network, and we're all kind of like, probably, but then why is all this stuff sitting here just waiting to destroy you at the same time? Like, somebody could try to destroy me, they're gonna have a really hard time finding something to destroy me with, because I don't, So, um, yeah. All right. So now we're talking about the pill mixing with cranberry juice and orange juice. I don't want to teach people how to do that, so we'll skip this. Um, Let me get down to, so we're going to call her Ethiopia because I can't say Haptemiriam right several times in a row. She visited him at his home in the evening, and then she and Mr. Combs would disappear for hours in Mr. Combs's bedroom. So apparently, allegedly, Ethiopia was in the bedroom with Mr. Combs for hours. Um, she would visit him at writing camp. She sponsored and attended Los Angeles listening parties. She went to all these parties. She should have known that he was drugging attendees. And as a sponsor of these events, she had a duty and obligation to ensure that ex-workers and underage girls were not present. Never mind the fact that I, Mr. Jones, brought these ex-workers to the party. It is her responsibility to make sure there aren't any. So I'm not sure how she was supposed to do that, since he was working so hard to bring them there, but that's his point. That's what he wants us to go with. Now, the interesting thing about Ethiopia is that there is an affidavit that has surfaced where she has turned on him and has agreed to testify. And it's believed that her testimony is what led them to be able to get the warrants that they got from a judge on Monday to go um, raid both his homes in Los Angeles and in New York. So if she's saying, yes, I was at both of these locations, I know for a fact there are video cameras that recorded these parties, or I know that there will be video of underage girls, or I personally saw or witnessed, blah, 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 that would be enough to get a judge to say, okay, you guys can go in and get any evidence that may be relevant to video, closed caption, or otherwise, to demonstrate that this stuff happened. So if, well, not if, she did agree to testify. She probably has testified behind closed doors, and that's probably why we see these warrants flying. Um, all right, so here is a picture of Jeffrey Epstein and this lady. I can't pronounce her name, but he's dead and she's in jail. And he's basically saying this lady, Christina, is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs is Jeffrey Epstein. So since when do we do that in a lawsuit? Like, this is super weird. Pictures of dead folk that don't have nothing to do. And like, y'all are in the comments saying this is like Jeffrey Epstein vibes, but this guy has it in the lawsuit. All right, so now we have a picture of something that I learned about. I was today years old when I learned about Tucci. Um, and Tucci is um, is it cocaine mixed with ecstasy? Yeah, cocaine mixed with ecstasy. It makes it pink somehow. You put in some gummies. He puts the recipe for how to make these drugs in this lawsuit. Crazy. Um, and this person, Karam, I'm trying to see if this is the person that got arrested. I don't think so. I don't know. But anyway, this person was providing drugs to um, this pink Tucci. I mean, who wants to smoke pink cocaine? I don't know. Um, but now we have the word that we've been hearing in Atlanta, RICO. So he is bringing, as an individual, which you can do, but nobody does, a RICO against these people. Stevie J, Justin, Brendan Pauls, works as Mr. Combs' mule. He acquires, distributes Mr. Combs' drugs and guns. Now, this is interesting, and I'm going to go away from this page because I don't want to have this recipe for Tucci on the screen. Mr. Paul was arrested. Here he is, the white guy, which I thought was creative to have him be the mule. He was arrested at the Miami Opelika, the private jet airport in Miami, as they were leaving during the raids, apparently leaving, which looks like his children are in handcuffs and he's at the airport with this guy and drugs. And the police arrested this guy with the drugs after he claimed the bag. And so we know this man is right about this part in his silly lawsuit, that this guy is the mule and he'll be the one with the drugs. So you keep the drugs off the superstar. So it's always this guy's drugs and this guy stay out of prison. And that's pretty much what happened. And I just think it's really interesting that he hired this guy to be the one to carry the drugs, because this guy can walk through an airport where this guy probably can't, or any of these other guys. All right, so now we have a picture of people at Thanksgiving when Mr. Combs offered Mr. Jones cocaine. So he goes on to say that this is a RICO because he was threatened that he would lose his ability to work in the industry if he didn't do all these things. And I'm just like, well, bump the ability to work in the industry. You're only paying me $12,000 anyway. So, you know, and like, what am I going to be missing? Not getting paid, not working for you. Um, but it does happen. I mean, people do threaten to blacklist you. And, you know, I just feel like you need to be paying me something for me to be getting blacklisted. Now, Keisha has looked up the attorney for Rod is Tyrone Blackburn. That's his name, Tyrone Blackburn. And the Google reviews are hilarious. He has a 3.3 rating. Well, I would love to read those. And I'm going to. Thank you for pointing that out. And Nicole is making a point that the mule was a pro ball player. I know he was a college baseball player. Um, I've never heard of Brendan like as some, you know, major or star. But if he was, and he's fallen from grace, and his job now is to cart drugs around for Diddy. Um, all right, so he had fake promises of cash payments of $250,000, Producer of the Year Grammy Awards, guaranteed access to future projects, and a $20 million home on Star Island. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is really why he stuck around, because he wanted his stuff, right? He wanted his $250,000. He wanted that house. He was like, "Oh, it's gonna be mine when it all goes down," and he's mad. Um, and so now he's pulling out his treasure trove of evidence that he has in his possession, and went to the right lawyer, who said, "Yes, I'll type up a 73-page document," because Cassie just got $30 million. Cassie's lawsuit was much more put together than this. All right, so now we're down into the causes of action. So, you know, they actually start writing like a lawyer at this point, and it's a lot less salacious. He's explaining how this is a RICO, who did what, restating the things that we've discussed already. Um, Sexual assault, negligent infliction of emotional distress, essay again by Jane Doe 1, Young Miami's cousin. You didn't ask the lady her name. Premises liability for the essay committed by Jane Doe, Young Miami's cousin, against Mr. Combs. Um, Premises, okay, so he's Trafficking and Victims Protection Act. This is what I believe the warrants were based upon. Not this, but this cause of action, based on whatever Ethiopia was able to verify for them, which would have been damn near everything for 30 or 40 years. That's because she's been on the scene. Um, California premise liability. So basically, if somebody commits a crime at your direction on your property, you have this premises liability that can attach to your homeowner's insurance policy, and that's where the money resides. So that's why we see all this. But this is looking like a lawsuit normally looks. Aiding, abetting, and inducing an SA venture in violation of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Now, what I think will be interesting is if we see Mr. Plaintiff here Mr. Jones end up getting arrested for SA, because he has all but admitted it for pages of for sex trafficking, not SA. He has admitted it over and over and over again, and then he's bringing these claims against other people for sex trafficking when he has said that he was sex trafficking. So this is where the disbarment should come in. I mean, you can't let your client do this, and you can't type this and file this with a court, a federal district court. All right, so this part is reading like a lawyer wrote it, you know. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, knowing beneficiary in an ex-trafficking venture in violation of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. This, sir, is where you're going to come in. This is where you're going to be sitting in jail. He's claiming they gave him cash, so they're just making this really long paper trail. I'm not going to like read this to you guys, but it is good reading. If you know, it's dense. I mean, you normally don't see somebody go from A to Z in their subsections of one clause and end up AABB. It's looking like seats at a concert. And this is change number 3 since he filed it, so it was worse. Yep, that's true. This version is the second version, but there's a new version that was filed today that just adds that Young Miami was the mule with the Tucci and a couple of, I think he might have found out our girl's cousin's name and put that in there. Again, you're amending your complaint. The people haven't even answered, and you keep giving them more time. And here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Tyrone Blackburn, Esquire, the third. Sir. Sir. Demand for insurance coverage. He knew that much. Remember, I was just saying premises liability, if they can show that there's insurance, and that you committed this crime on your property, then they can attach the insurance to the claim as opposed to having to sue you. And I think, Cassie was like the blueprint because that settled so quickly because insurance was like, oh, no, we're not playing this game, settle it. And so Tyrone is trying to go down the same path, but Tyrone is not a very good lawyer. Tyrone is given wrinkled suit lawyer vibes. All lawyers are not created equal. You do get what you pay for. I'm sure Tyrone didn't charge this man anything. I'm sure he is doing this for free with the hopes of riches and fame, and instead we are clowning the hell out of him. But he doesn't know us, and so he doesn't care. And they are going to probably, I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you think they're going to settle? I think that he's been so over the top that they have to deny everything because there's just too much in there to be able to admit all that or to settle all that. Cassie kept it cute. You raped me. You made me sleep with other people. I felt bad. It hurt my feelings. Emotional distress. 30 million. Cool. Go away. Don't say anything else. This man is, you can't admit all this. Like, you can't settle all this. You have to bifurcate this somehow and say, well, okay, I made you go get them hoes from the Body Tap or whatever the name of the place was, but I didn't do all these other things, so it makes it hard to settle when you throw so much at something. So Tyrone don't even look like he has won one case. Well, now I want to know what Tyrone looks like. It says he's a founding attorney. Lord, I hope he didn't pay him for this wrinkled suit. Everybody going to jail on Easter. Yeah, Lenore, can't come in with unclean hands to the courts. That's a very good point. And what I was illustrating about Mr. Jones, you can't say, they were hiring sex workers and you were too. So we don't understand that. We don't understand how you kept coming back to work every day when you were fully grown and able to go on about your business if people are grabbing you in the anus. Again, how does somebody grab you in the anus? I don't want to understand that. I just don't understand it. That's all. And Tyrone represents T.I. and Tiny in their SA lawsuit. Oh, Lord, T.I. and Tiny. Oh, Lord. Not the rental lawyer. I don't really know, what else to say. I think, again, I was supposed to circle back. So the ex-workers, one of the ex-workers in the new amended complaint, what is this camera doing? And the amended the complaint that was filed today is a young lady who dated Diddy for some time. Said young lady turns out to also be 50 Cent's baby mama, one of them. So 50 Cent goes on Instagram because that's how people communicate with people in their family, right? That's how we saw Al B. Sure communicating with his son that Diddy has raised. He went on Instagram and said, hey, son, home, you can come home anytime. Like, bro, you don't have his phone number, or you could at least add him so he could get it. Because if he's not taking your phone calls, then I guess he probably doesn't want to come live with you either. But I'm just, guessing. The man is 30, so I don't know, how you're like, hey, come home now. And he's 30 years old, and you literally let him live with this man all this time. So 50, who is a notorious internet troll, will not hesitate to get at you if you even think about leaving him some room. Post a picture of his baby mama with Diddy and said, I didn't know you was a sex worker, you little sex worker, you. And then he went and filed for full custody of his child with her. His son with her is 11, and he's probably going to get it. And 50 is just the trolliest troll that ever did troll. And I hope nobody has anything on him because he does not play with other people when they're wrong. He doesn't give them any room. So I pray nobody has anything on him. Like, he must sleep well at night. Um, so that was my circle back that I wanted to have to that. So we have a comment. I felt like this case was a way to keep him from being accused. When Diddy finally went down, he was making himself a victim early. I guess. I mean, nobody was thinking about him. Like, we don't know who he is. We know Stevie J. Like, we know everybody in this lawsuit but him. And um, even when he uses like bad hints to tell us who the people are, we know who they are. Like the person who performed in Vegas and at the Super Bowl. That takes like, you might as well just type Usher. USHERRAYMOND. And tell me what you want to do. Just type that in there and be done with it, because this is really the lawsuit is just given like mock trial, like elementary school mock trial. Um, it's what people write when they think that lawyers write. Like, it's written like people write who haven't ever heard lawyers write, but think that's how we write. Um, she made a post saying 50 essayed her. I bet she did. So here's the thing. What I do know for sure is that in the music industry and movie industry and Hollywood period, and Los Angeles period, people are moving and shaking and moving chess pieces like crazy right now. People are putting people in position, because understand that when the police went in there, they did one of two things, and there's two theories. The police went in there to get the because this man has filed this lawsuit, he will be entitled to, if his lawyer can make it this far, to discovery. Remember when I talked about discovery? And in discovery, you can do document production request and interrogatories to the other side to make them produce things for you for evidence. He could, he probably wouldn't have succeeded because his silly ass put all these things in the pleadings to say he already has access to this. But he could make a demand upon Diddy and others in that lawsuit to turn over all the footage from the cameras from his house. All right. And he would then have that for his little lawsuit, right? Now, let's say you are big Hollywood celebrity person who has um, pull down at the Homeland Security. And you know you've been over there at the freak offs or whatever they were calling them. I think that's what they were calling them. And you know that there's implication that you could be implicated when you found out today that Diddy has cameras in every room of every house and has footage of everybody doing everything. Let's say you are an older, balding executive who had a party the night that one of your major superstars passed away in the hotel downstairs where she passed away. My things are just as easy to figure out as old Tyrone's here. Let's say you're him and you groomed Diddy to do these things many years ago, as the rumor mill has always said. And let's say you have a pull with the FBI and Homeland Security and you need that footage. You could presumably convince them to go down to court. You could definitely convince Ethiopia, who had worked for you for decades, to testify. You would be able to get her to go down and give enough testimony to the court to get the judge to issue these people a search warrant and go get that footage to destroy it, right? That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is, for whatever reason, the authorities decided they wanted to pursue these allegations of sex trafficking as to Diddy and did so. And everything picks back up right there, right? More than likely, powerful people in LA want these videos, want this footage. Diddy is probably on the phone like, I'm gonna eat your face. I got footage of you. You need to get me out of this. I'm gonna eat your face. You know, so he may have gotten desperate and started threatening people. There is no telling, and I don't want to start making allegations because um, I probably can't even imagine the nonsense that really is going on in here. But let's see, if he was at one of those nasty little parties taking pictures and recording people without permission and then filed a lawsuit, can't you get into trouble somewhere in there? Because I was tap dancing all over that Fourth Amendment. Yeah, um, there's so many legal problems with all of this. Whether any of this stuff that he put in the complaint would be admissible is one issue. How do you pick a jury when anybody that goes on Google can pull this up and see these photographs? So now, instead of it going into evidence and the court seeing it to approve whether or not the jury can see it, you have put it in an exhibit. I mean, I feel like this man is going to be, the judge is going to, you think the judge in the YSL trial is having a field day with these clowns? This judge is gonna wear this guy out when he gets him in court. I feel like, because if he's this bad at typing, imagine the arguments that he's gonna make. It's gonna be clown show extraordinaire. I feel like Rodney mentioned it would be more stuff in Discovery. Well, Rodney, you should have had all this in Discovery, boo. His pacing at the airport did not seem like a worried man to me either. And me either. And I still am very stuck with him leaving his children. I don't care what this is. I'm not leaving my children with heavily armed federal agents mad because I'm fake. Absolute federal agents mad because I'm flagrant. Tap my phone and the cell in my basement. Hmm. Okay, Biggie, you were onto something there. Um, they they have weapons and they had a tank and they were like knocking down the doors and they beat the house all to hell, like everything was just strewed everywhere. It was a big mess left in the house, and you are getting on a plane flying to Florida with the white guy who carries your drugs around and leaving your two sons in the handcuffs in Los Angeles. And then when the drugs get confiscated, and this is my theory, they left and went to Love Island, which he has a private island. And that's the other thing. If anybody I ever meet in the future, I don't care how rich they are, if they have a private island and a private jet, I'm done. Leave me alone. Go away from me, because that seems to be the recipe for disaster. So Puffy gets on his private jet, goes to his private island, but then he turns around and comes back the next day. Maybe because they didn't have the Tucci, the party wasn't that much fun anymore. Maybe they ran out of Tucci, and he's like, I need to face reality. I can't do that. Let's go back to where the Tucci is. I don't know, but for the first time in probably forever, he was on Love Island without his drugs, and you have federal authorities mad because you're flagrant tapping your phone and your cell in your basement at the same time. So now you're sober and you're under federal investigation on two coasts. You just might as well come back home because you're not really going to have much of a good time. And no chicks are going with you on this trip. No chick is going with you in the middle of this. Not even Young Miami. She was at the house. So, there's really not a lot of fun to be in Love Island. This island is a part of a country that does have an extradition treaty with the United States. So you can't stay. You might as well just come back and pop some popcorn and get with a lawyer. I think the logical thing to do is to, the twins were with him allegedly. He was taking them on spring break. I think the thing for him to do is to settle with Tyrone and his client. Um, if you have another 30 million, now's the time to give it to him, because this is going to be a clown show, and he's going to amend this lawsuit till the paper on the ink runs dry. And he's going to keep adding stuff, and somebody's going to get Tyrone on CNN. If you can imagine, if Laura Coates gets Tyrone on CNN and he starts talking, and baby, she is going to get it out of him, because he doesn't seem to know how to hold him and how to fold him and how to walk away and when to run. So, um, you know, you guys have been asking me to like bring you up to speed on what's going on. This is what's going on. Um, I'm gonna just look at the comments right quick to see what else y'all have. I think I've been kind of catching them as we go, though. Um, this is not over by a long, long, long stretch, and I do think at the end of the day, Puff is going to prison for something. I don't even know what. um, Probably if they can get a couple of those booty tap chicks, um, and in Ethiopia, who will know um, everything. She's just been around so long. If she really is singing, it's gonna be a really bad song. It's gonna be like take that, take that, take that for real. Um, so worst lawyer ever has messed up all of Diddy's closure. Yeah, Tyrone is singing a terrible R&B unloved song. Is he safe? Is who safe? The producer guy. Yeah, I think one of the things that you do accomplish when you file a lawsuit and you put stuff on Front Street is you make yourself no longer a target because you're too obvious. I think that when people don't know who you are and you're just underground, that's when you can disappear. I mean, there have been allegations that came out after Cassie filed her lawsuit that he blew up um, Kid Cudi's car, that he was hanging people over the edge of balconies, that you know the other theory, the theory that Suge Knight has, is that all of this is happening because they finally arrested somebody for um, unaliving Tupac, and that person is connected to Diddy, and he is talking. So, I mean, I was just out of law school when Tupac got shot. I don't think there's anything that Puffy did back then, other than maybe personally shooting Tupac, that anybody would care. Okay, I'm gonna answer this too. I'm shocked that Diddy didn't call Russell and go over there. Keep in mind, Kimora Lee Simmons has long accused, and Russell with her have long accused Diddy of trying to SA Kimora, Russell's ex-wife. So Russell and Diddy don't get down at all. But Usher was just over there, and Usher and Diddy go way back. I'll leave that there. And I thought it was interesting that Usher would go see Russell Simmons. So maybe was he brokering a deal on behalf of his boy? I mean, it was his honeymoon with his new wife, and they were in Bali or Thailand or wherever Russell was hiding. Um, Maybe that just happened. When I think of Russell Simmons, I don't think of Usher like going to see him though and doing yoga. But you never know. Keith D, yeah. So Keith D has been arrested and picked up, and he said that Diddy hired him to get Pac, and he admitted to being in the car and passing the pew pew to Orlando. So there are people that think that all of this is coming out because he's in custody now and he's talking. It could be. Um, Cassie's timing was great. She got in and got her money and got out before it got nasty. While he still had access to the money, because when they raid your house like that, oftentimes they freeze your assets as well. Um, Now the fact that they let him leave the country on a private jet, perhaps not, but um, Kimora was besties with Kim and was supposed to release a book. And after she started announcing that she was going to write a book, guess what happened, y'all? Her house burned down mysteriously. Kimora Lee's house burned down after she announced she was going to write a book about Kim, who mysteriously died of pneumonia. And right around the same time that Albie Shore, Kim's baby daddy and father of Quincy, who Puff acts like is his son, um, went into a mysterious coma. Um, I don't want to sound like Jaguar Wright. I don't even know how Jaguar Wright knows all the stuff she knows, but essentially, the one thing I'll give Mr. Tyrone and his client is that I do understand that you were afraid to tell anybody what Mr. Mann was doing because a lot of people have gone to meet their maker fooling with him. I just don't understand why you kept coming over there. Like you weren't getting paid, so why are you coming over there when you could go home? Why are you going to get Diamond and Peaches from the club and driving them back over there when you could just go home? And did you stay all night to take them back to the booty tap when it was over? Like, um, they say she was in that clique at one point looking. Oh, Jaguar Wright. Yeah, Jaguar Wright is in the mix. They said Kim sent a text. He got me right before she passed. I heard that too. That's why I was confused. And her computers were missing. And they went. Speaking of Kim, the mother of three of his children who untimely passed. Her death was originally written down on the DC as a homicide, and then that was changed, and the coroner that wrote the homicide mysteriously passed away as well. So these are all allegations because I'm in my basement, but still, um, this is why we can understand why Mr. Jones was afraid. Like I said, we can understand why Cassie was afraid. We can understand why all these people that are talking now didn't talk until now. Um, we understand because you could people were disappearing and getting getting pew and all the other things I can't say without getting the video taken down by Facebook. So bad things were happening to good people, and you don't want to be one of those people. So you just go along to get along. I get that, but having been in situations that were nowhere near like this in the music industry, where I just didn't pretty much didn't like them, and so I just wouldn't go back. You don't, no, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Y'all just figure it out. I'm not coming. That was my solution when I couldn't deal with somebody or somebody was doing something I didn't like. But you certainly wouldn't have me for free doing all these crimes. I mean, he wasn't even giving him the money to get the gas to go get the hose from the spot. He was just threatening to eat his face and grabbing his anus and just sending him. I you know, I don't know. We're not gonna make this make sense, but we will follow it. Again, one of the reasons I just didn't even know what to say about this Monday, and I still don't know what to say about it today, is that it's so weird. Um, Rachel said it's like the hip hop Tiger King. Yes, yes, it's so ghetto that I didn't know how to even approach it in an intellectual way. And so I decided to just go sarcastic and silly and come in here diddy bopping with videos playing. So if you missed the beginning, please, it's a treat, I swear. Um, and, you know, an hour and 12 minutes later, I still don't know anything I didn't know before. I still don't understand anything anymore. But at least now all of us have all the facts, alleged facts. And we can watch this from here on out with posts and stuff in the seat at the table group and just kind of watch it develop because a lot is about to happen. And I'm going to keep my eye on the lawyer, Tyrone Biggums, because I feel like he's been disbarred or something and nobody knows it yet. But, maybe not. Um, I just really wonder how T.I. went. Can you imagine this man and T.I. having a conversation? Like, indubitably. Yeah, absolutely. Um, um, it's a clown show. Yeah, I'm just, I'm at a loss. I have nothing um, intellectual to put a bow on this. I just have sarcasm and nonsense at this point. And I'm really excited to get off here and go look up this Tyrone lawyer because y'all got me curious now. So um, that's what I'll be doing until Beyonce drops this country record at midnight because my daughter and I have a tradition that we're going to listen to it together, even though she may be 2 states away. T.I. and them won that case, I thought. I don't know. Probably. But by one, see again, when there's money and influence, that doesn't mean Tyrone knew what he was doing. That just means T.I. was like, here, girl, be quiet. And she did. So, I don't have much more. I can't make this make sense. I can't do nothing with this. This is all a big mess. And I will say, aside from all of our, comic relief with this tonight, our hearts do go out to any of the young ladies who were more than likely absolutely put in a situation where they were sexually assaulted. I really don't have any doubt that that happened. I don't have any doubt that that happened to Cassie. I don't have any doubt that there were girls in there underage. I don't have any doubt that any of this happened. Um, and it's unfortunate and I understand people go, well, how are you leaving your teenager in the studio? Listen, it happened. I've been in more studios than I can count where the artists are there and they're 14, 15, 16. Now, just because they're 14, 15, or 16 doesn't mean a grown man should be attracted to them, though. So there's nothing wrong with a young girl being in a studio or a gymnastics gym or a swim camp or anything. Grown men aren't supposed to be attracted to little girls. I don't give a damn what they are doing. Grown women are supposed to be attracted to little boys. I don't care what they're doing. So I don't blame the children, and sometimes I don't even blame the parents for leaving them there because I've been in situations where children were left in studios with me and a bunch of men. I've been in situations almost always where I'm the only woman in the studio, back then. And now I was not in danger because these men were not predators. Um, it takes a demented mind and a predator for a person to be in danger just because they're somewhere in the presence of somebody else, right? So let's not victim blame the young ladies, especially now, the chicks from down to the booty tap or whatever that place was called. Listen, those are working girls. They knew what they were doing. We, I don't have to finish the sentence. Mr. Jones, bro, I don't know why you didn't leave at the very first anus grab, but there you were for months. Um, and I don't know if you're going to get anywhere with this lawsuit. Young Miami girl, you need to sell the gifts that man bought you and change your phone number. Um, JT is already coming out with solo songs trying to stay away from you. So, you know, I don't know what Mary J. Blige made a post. Like, this man is so far reaching. Diddy is like, he is, he touches everything for the past 20, 30 years of music. Mary J. Blige made a post. I think this goes way up the food chain. I think Diddy is a very low on the totem pole member of the we just got so much money and we freaky and we do whatever we want to do to whoever we want to do it to committee. I will never understand how somebody who has money, wealth, and power has to like rape people and take it from people when there's lines of women out the door that'll give it to you and men too. So that becomes a power trip. Um, and I just feel like we're gonna be hearing a lot more about this. I hope I've done this in a way that works for you guys because I truly didn't even know what to say because it's just so crazy. So hopefully this has been what you were hoping it would be or helpful in some way to understand what all is going on for the person that doesn't have the time to read all the news stories. Um, hopefully I think we all were on the same page of legal understanding, which is way above Mr. Tyrone's understanding. So there was less legal about this, but you know, I feel like I don't know if we accomplished anything tonight because this is so weird, but hopefully you get something out of this, at least to know what's going on and be able to follow the story. So, if all hearts and minds are clear, um, I'm gonna end this live and go back and enjoy your comments because y'all have definitely been entertaining, what I could see here. And I think this last comment, hide your sons and daughters, absolutely. And this has been informative and batshit crazy. Pretty much. That's how. Yeah, that's what I think we can summarize this as informative, batshit crazy. Um, I think Mr. Jones may end up being arrested at some point if the chicks from the booty tap start talking. I don't think that's the name of the place. I think I've changed the name of it, but you know what I mean. If they start talking and they want to become victims, as opposed to employees or workers for hire, then he could have some issues. Um, he could have some issues anyway. The police could decide to take an interest with his proclivity to go down to the booty tap and pick up Diamond and Princess and Chantel and I don't know what are the stripper names, y'all. Picking them up and bringing them to the house. Um, so hold on, let me text my son. All right, so I gotta go pick my son up. He's not at the studio, that's for sure. But um, I appreciate you all for coming for me to get me to ask me to tell you about this, and then for actually showing up to hear about it. Thank you for all the info because this is definitely news I don't keep up with. I got you. So this has been my DNN seat at the table mashup at the intersection of entertainment, news, and nonsense tonight. So live from my home studio where dust has been the order of the day for months, but now I'm in here, I might turn around and at least listen to some music. So um, thank you guys so much for hanging in here with me on this. And if anything exciting happens, we'll come back. Otherwise, we'll just all watch and eat popcorn. Take care.